teachers of Reddit. What is the most NSFW thing you've seen a student do in class? In high school, we had a beloved teacher and I'm still friends with him to this day. However, he viewed taking attendance as a big waste of time, and his class was enjoyable, so kids rarely skipped it, so he'd just give the class a once-over, and try to notice if anyone was missing, and sometimes kids would yell out that a kid was sick. Well, on this particular day, he marked everyone as present, including a kid that was not in class, as he was busy murdering his uncle. So the teacher had to go to court and say on the record that no, he is not providing an alibi for the student, he's just terrible at attendance. The administration really got on his ass about attendance after that, and he was good about it for a few years, and then he went back to his old ways, saying it's very unlikely I'll have another murder during my class. A girl posted videos to Vine of her penetrating herself with a banana and a hairbrush. Kids quickly found out it was her, and almost every campus around knew about it. She was deemed Banana Girl, and she graduated early to avoid bullying. Sad part is, she actually died in a car crash a few years later. I subbed at a school once where we had a special ed kid who would not stop pooping in the stairwell. They had teachers escorting him from one class to another. He was theoretically supervised at all times, and yet every week or two he managed to slip away long enough to drop a deuce in the stairwell. I still pity that poor janitor. My friend's teaching mentor was insane. She told crazy sex stories to him, and a bunch of interns sent pictures of men in genital cuffs to cowhawkers. All kinds of bizarre stuff for any workplace, but definitely for someone who teaches 11-year-olds. I'm a 7th/9th grade teacher. I'm only in my first year. Apparently an 8th grade student, 14 years old, was getting called a slut and other students were saying she was sleeping with 4 guys every week. She then stood up in my class, turned to the people harassing her, and yelled I've only F****KED 2 guys this year, so shut up. Being a large man in his early 20s, I completely ignored the situation and just asked everyone to quiet down and get to work. I have too many. The one that sticks out the most is the time my teaching partner and I were working after school. He went down to hall to use the bathroom and saw a line of high school boys coming from out of the girls' bathroom. He taps one on the shoulder and asks what's going on here. Lo and behold, an honors student was in the girls' handicap stall letting the boys' basketball team run train on her to get them pumped up for the state playoffs. Of course she was expelled, but was allowed to walk for graduation in May. Some people let their freak flags fly. This chick was 6 freak flags over Texas. Caught 2 students having sex on top of a slide on the playground after school. It was one of these slides with the covered waiting area at the top. Her face was sticking out of the front of it, and his ass and feet were sticking out of the back. She saw us, another teacher and I, first and started screaming that she was stuck on the slide. He freaked out, banged his head on the inside and essentially tumbled back down the steps while trying to get his pants up. They were 5th graders BTW. A teacher at my school ran a drama club after school. She had a box of costumes. In that box of costumes was one of the teacher's thongs. A student picked it up and put it on their head and asked, "Is this some sort of bandana?" She shrieked, grabbed it, and said yep, and cancelled the rest of the day's club. School maintenance here to come to mind. At one middle school, a boy came running into the office to tell everyone that he saw 2 people in a stall together in the bathroom, and that a girl had been blowing a guy, and that the guy had a huge dick. But I can't remember what word he said. He didn't use the word dick. At another middle school, a teacher who had a bad case of the flu lost control of her bowels in front of her class. She must have been aware it was coming, because the diarrhea started in the middle of the room and there was a huge trail of it from the middle of the room to the hall. We have custodians, but another main guy and I were close by, so we cleaned it up. I felt bad for her. She went home, but was back a few days later, and stayed for the rest of the school year. I'm sure there are more stories. Been doing this for 20 years now. Had an autistic kid in our class, 2 teachers, myself included, who wasn't potty trained despite being in a class level where he should have been. He s*****ts himself. The other teacher is like TNT, go get him changed, and I'll keep the kids busy. I take him to the bathroom and go to grab his backup pants. The other teacher shrieks because one of the other students is pelting toys at her. I go to take care of that mess. Takes me all of 30 seconds. I come back to autistic boy and he has stripped himself and smeared his S***T all over the walls, toilet, sink, himself. It's a S***T tornado. I almost quit that day. There's a couple. The biggest one was my mentor was caught sharing genital pics with a student that he found on a gay website. Yes, he was married, and just like that I was on my own. The one that caught me off guard was I had a student from a foreign Asian country and she came up to me after class one day asking questions about science. These questions quickly transitioned into a weird place when she started asking me out, saying things like I don't mind having an older boyfriend. Bear in mind her English wasn't the best. I quickly guided her out of the classroom from then on. Got asked what a tidwank was from a tiny nerdy 11-year-old boy whilst trying to teach him about safety on the internet. I told him it wasn't part of the syllabus and that it wasn't suitable to ask me. I've told this story several times, but here goes. I was an occasional substitute teacher in the town where I went to college. The band director often requested me to come teach if she was out sick, since I was a music major and could work with the kids on their parts. Get in for a day, and my instructions were to break the kids up by section and have them practice their parts. I spent the next hour listening to a miasma of sounds from woodwinds, brass, strings, etc. but no drumming. If you don't know any drummers, they're always playing or banging on their laps, tables, steering wheels, etc. Curious me goes to investigate the drum room, and I walked in on the token female drummer flashing her breasts to the boys in exchange for money. Was volunteering in a kindergarten classroom. Was going through some old papers and found a letter from one of the mothers to the teachers explaining a bathroom incident. It went something like this. Kinshiro was in the bathroom stall peeing in the toilet when another student climbed under the stall. Kinshiro got very nervous at the sight of the boy and lost control of his pee. He peed on the student's face because he was very scared. Please do not punish Kinshiro. I will take this a different direction. My first week of teaching had its ups and downs. I was teaching a PE class and had a new kindergarten class for the first time. A few minutes into class, a little 5-year-old boy raises his hand. Mr. Cowtipper, I have a problem. My PP is really hard right now, and I don't know what to do. Holding in every ounce of laughter I had, I told him I was sorry and that we would talk about his problem in a few minutes. Not long after, he raises his hand again. Yes, Caleb, don't worry. It's not a problem anymore. He tells me with the biggest smile on his face. Gotta love teaching elementary. Being a middle school teacher is never boring, lol. Had a student run up to me and say that someone had been stabbed in the girls' room. Turns out that a 5th grader had started their period. She later got the talk when she got home. I was a teacher 2010 to 2015. I was teaching high school at an all-girls school, and there was this student teacher from a local university. He was 19 or 20. He was always being a jerk to this one senior at the school. I thought it a bit odd he was always focusing on her. Fast forward a few months, and it was post-graduation. I was out at a local bar and look over and see them together there. A coworker said they had been screwing for the past few months. I asked him how he knew. There was a smaller teacher's lounge in one of the wings of the school. As there weren't normal classes in that wing, it was not frequented, and the setup wasn't as nice. He said he popped in there one day, and she was down on her knees blowing him. He closed the door and walked away. Not long after, the student teacher found him in his class and asked him what he saw. My coworker was a bit stunned and said he wasn't sure. The student teacher said that he should keep what he saw to himself, or the truth could get twisted against him. He implied the senior would state she was going down on my coworker and not the student teacher. There were no cameras or anything in that area, so my coworker decided to keep his mouth shut. I'm a paramedic, not a teacher, but we ran a call at a high school one day for a girl that was feeling sick. After questioning her for a while trying to find out what was going on, things just weren't making sense. We get her in the back of the ambulance away from parent and teachers and she finally opens up. Apparently she recently started giving her BF oral sex and he wanted to finish in her mouth, but semen really grossed her out. So in order to get over her phobia, the BF thought a little exposure therapy would do the trick. He provided her with a Ziploc bag full of semen, so she could ingest it all throughout the day. She only made it to about 10 AM, before becoming violently ill. Poor girl, I felt so bad. My mom is a preschool teacher and here's the best story I heard so far. There was this kid who bit everything. He chewed on toys, walls, teachers and of course other preschoolers. So one time a kid comes out of the bathroom, that is in one corner of the class, and his pants are down and of course his willy is hanging. The second my mom notices the biting kid does too, but he's in the opposite corner of the class. He starts sprinting towards the boy and my mom does the same, but she being in her 50s is slower, but closer to the naked kid. She gets there just barely, to grab the kid host just standing there, and takes him off the trajectory the biting kid is on with his mouth open, and charging like a torpedo. If she didn't get there faster, the kid would probably be scarred for life. That living torpedo is probably around 10 right now, and I heard his normal now. I had just begun class, freshman camp at a community college, and was going over what the day's plan was. A student walked in a few minutes late, sat down, and pulled out his computer. Upon opening the computer, very loud moaning sounds of porn emanated into the room for approximately 3 seconds. Once he got it to stop, he shakily said, "I'm sorry." I stood at the podium and said and a couple of times, and then "Give me just a minute, guys." I stood there looking down at the podium, trying to collect my thoughts as calmly as humanly possible, so I could continue class like nothing happened. After around 15 seconds of pure and uncomfortable silence, a kid from the back of the room let out a 2-syllable, guttural chuckle. I lowered my head to behind the podium with my hand still clasping onto it above my head as I bent over, and lost my S***T***. I laughed hysterically and uncontrollably for at least 30 to 45 seconds, emulating Stewie's ridiculous laugh from that episode of Family Guy, but with far more wheezing and high-pitched squealing. The entire class started laughing with me as soon as I started. After I was finally able to collect myself, I apologized to everyone and said I was sorry and that I had tried so hard to remain composed. Later, when telling this story to other faculty, they agreed that there's no time in pedagogy classes devoted to the appropriate reaction to porn noises being played during class, and that I did the best with what I could by not calling the kid out. I literally didn't make eye contact with him once, or kicking him out of class for something that was embarrassing enough as it was. Side note, the kid stayed for the entire class. I was impressed. TL. Dr. Kid's computer blasted porn audio. I laughed uncontrollably. Then I apologized for losing composure. Not sure if this counts, since I was just a volunteer teacher for the kindergarten section for Sunday school. This 5-year-old dropped his pants, took off his S***TTY diaper, and gave it to me. I didn't realize it's possible for a 5-year-old to still not be potty trained. I walked out of class during a prep period to go upstairs to talk with another teacher. In the stairwell there was a female student blowing a male student. The worst thing was she didn't stop even after I yelled. Many things have happened at my school, but this is the only one I have personally witnessed. Home ec teacher asked a pregnant girl if she could get the placenta from her to eat. And that's about it, I think. My teachers weren't too wild by any means. I just don't wanna let this thread sink too far. Lol, not gonna believe this after this kinda blew up on me. I only just now remembered that the teacher that taught the problem kids, or slower kids, stole pornography from one of them, and apparently just had a bunch in his desk that he'd hear about every so often. That's more in line with the post. Sorry, tacked it on here though, don't wanna post again for this. This girl took pictures of her dog eating peanut butter off of her vagina and then sent it to her boyfriend. He proceeded to share it with the whole school, and then the teachers found out. Make sure to like and subscribe for more daily content. Thanks for watching.